Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Matt here with you in this, our second video in our FSFO V6 tutorial series. In this video, we're going to be showing you how to connect FSFO to the simulator, as well as running through the entire pre-flight procedure, just so you can get an understanding on how V6 works. Okay, without further delay, let's get right into it. The first thing you want to do before any flight is obviously plan your flight plan. We do that with an application called SimBrief. An explanation and demonstration of SimBrief is a little beyond the scope of this video. However, there are tons of videos out there that you can review if you're unfamiliar with this amazing piece of software. As you can see, our SimBrief flight plan is all generated and we are ready to go. So with that, let's go ahead and click on our FSFO V6. With that, we get it opened up, and as you can see, it automatically opened to the flight plan page based on the setting that we talked about in the previous video. The first thing you want to do is select your profile. We selected the Airbus Phoenix A320. The checklist associated with this, we're just going to use the default checklist that we created in the previous video when we activated the Phoenix profile. All right, so FSFO V6 allows you to create multiple checklists for any specific profile. That just gives you the ability, if you fly for multiple airlines, to create SOPs specific for that airline. As you guys all know, British Airways, for example, has very different procedures than Delta Airlines. So FSFO allows you to create different checklists and different profiles so you can mimic those airlines. And you can do so via the editor, which we will have a separate video on very, very soon. Just to give you a quick look at it, you can select your profile, select your phase, and then here you can select any one of these options and put it in here, and that generates that SOP for you. Again, we don't charge you for that. It's free. Just create as many as you want. Back on the flight plan page, not a cargo flight, not a company flight. We'll talk more about company flights later down the road. All this data pre-populated from the SimBrief. A couple things I will draw your attention to is the initial altitude. This will be the altitude, if it's greater than 0, that your co-pilot will set in the autopilot. So if you have anything other than 0 here, he will set that for you. Typically, you don't get your initial altitude until you are cleared by ATC. However, on most major airports, at least within the US, you can look at the charts, look at the SIDS, and you can see which altitude you'll be assigned. A good example of this, I think, is Logan. If you're a turboprop, your initial altitude will probably be 3,000 feet. If it's a jet, it will probably be 5,000 feet. We're flying out of Bangor today, so it's a Bangor 5 is a vector departure. So we won't put our initial altitude. We'll just keep it at our planned altitude, which is the value FSFO will sit or set on the autopilot when it gets to that. Check your transition altitude and all your other data to make sure it's good. All right. Next thing we'll want to do is we want to take a look at our briefing real quick. As you can see, it gives you the weather information, which is quick and easy to review. Now, if this data was more than 2 hours old, you would see a big red X here with a warning that our SimBrief data is outdated. You saw that in the previous video, just to make sure that you're using a flight plan within the appropriate time threshold. You can see, though, here and now that it's replaced by the checklist configuration. If you create your own checklist, FSFO will now review that checklist in great detail to make sure that you won't encounter any problems. This was one that we generated with activation, so you can see it's good to go. All right, scrolling down, you get the weather information for both airports, the departure and arrival. This is key. I always take a look at the ATIS information as it provides really critical data. You can see here that we're arriving on runway 4 right, so that's going to be the runway that we're going to use, and they're departing 33 right out of Bangor or out of Boston. Scrolling further down, you can take a look and see what's the BATSM status is as far as pilots online and controllers. Specific to your airport, there's nobody online at Bangor, but there are, looks like 3 controllers online at Boston to include tower, ground, and clearance delivery. All right, so now that we've reviewed all of our relevant data, we can then go to the performance page and make sure all of this is accurate. Again, FSFO pulls this from SimBrief. So you can see we have the temperature, a flex temperature of 67, which is the value your copilot will use when he programs your MCDU. We'll see that in a little bit. Everything else looks good. V speeds, cost index, all ready to go. Back to performance, excuse me, we did not look at the arrival page. Again, you just want to make sure all the information is relevant. New altitude, what that is, when the co-pilot detects the aircraft getting close to top of descent, it will program the new altitude in there for you, so you don't have to do that. If you step away from your computer and you don't want to pause it to top of descent, that's a good feature to have. All this other data looks great, so let's go back to the flight plan page. All right, we have validated all the data, so now it's time to connect FSFO to the sim. You can't start a flight until you connect it. For example, if I click start flight, it will ask me to connect the sim. You can, as discussed in the previous video, have FSFO automatically connect to Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, for this video, I'm going to choose to do that myself just because things are going to happen in rapid succession. I don't want to make sure we have enough time to talk about stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and connect FSFO to the sim. Manually, we can do that by clicking this red button right here. If the connection is successful, it will turn green. And down here, you will see the FSUIPC version number, which is correct. Now, another thing for troubleshooting purposes, we went through a great detail to provide copious information to troubleshoot things yourself. If you run into any problems, for example, if you have the right profile and the right checklist selected, but you notice your co-pilot is just not flipping any switches, I encourage you to please go to the help section, go to the troubleshooting, and there are detailed instructions on how to overcome some of those errors. Specific to the switches not flipping, you always want to take a look at FSUIPC and see if that is successfully connected. You could do that by going down to the lower right-hand corner in your system tray. This isn't my main screen, so it's not displayed here, but you'll see the little FSFO or FSUIPC 7 icon. You can right-click and show, and then it will present this data right here. You can see FSUIPC 7 is connected successfully. You know this because it says connected, but more importantly, you see that it's detecting the local variables, the LVARs and the HVARs. So we know everything is set up and should work correctly based on that data. All right, one other critical note, if you go back to the SOPs page and you try to start a flow, you won't be able to do that because you have not started your flight. FSFO wants you to review all your information prior to the flight so we can avoid some of the errors that we saw with version 5. A couple quick notes before we get going is I like to have my OFP relevant. So if you are right there, so if you click OFP, FSFO will generate an HTML file for you with your operational flight plan on it for you. I don't like to use the EFP. I like to have this on a second monitor. So that's what I did there. If you're using a default aircraft or an aircraft that allows you to enter fuel and payload via the Microsoft Flight Simulator fuel and payload loader, all you have to do is click this button right here, and FSFO will load those values here and here into the aircraft. The Phoenix, it doesn't really work real well, nor does it work well for the PMDG aircraft. However, it works fine on the iFly 737 I noted and on the fly-by-wire aircraft. But here we're going to enter the data via the MCDU because of the center of gravity calculations that are quite exquisite in this aircraft. All right, so that's this in a nutshell. Now that we've verified all the data, let's go ahead and start the flight. Now, you notice, good afternoon, Captain. We go right to the SOPs page. That's based on the setting that we talked about in the prior video. More so, you see that autoflow is enabled and we're using smart. Again, if you recall from the previous video, we set a 30-second delay from the time that the connection happens and you start the flight for when the pre-flight flow happens. All right, I don't like to have this much surface covered. Usually I have this on a second monitor, so it's not a big deal. But let's go ahead and snap that and make this a little smaller. You make it as big or as small as you want. Right here is good. We'll just go ahead and put it, now let's put it over here. As you can see now, the jetway is connecting. This is the first thing in our flow. Again, these are editable. You can remove that if you don't want it. You can keep it in there. It's entirely up to you. And if you recall, during when we activated the product, we said we didn't want to use GSX ground services. That's why you see Microsoft Flight Simulated here and not GSX. If this was GSX, because we're out on an area that doesn't have a jetway, the co-pilot would go ahead and request the GSX stairs instead of the jetway. So you'll also notice, hopefully you'll hear the ambiance playing in the background. That is also FSFO providing some new ramp and cargo ambiance in the background. If you don't want that, you can just turn off that setting that we had previously discussed. As you can see here, first flight of the day, so we did his safety checks. Now he's coming down and he's going to go ahead and start the power, which he just did, and now 45 seconds for the self-test. After he completes this, you can see that the forward left, we have the co-pilot opening the doors for us, which will be accomplished via the MCDU. Once he opens the door, he will go ahead and turn on the instrument brightness for you. All of them will be impacted by this. We can see we have them on high. There's also max, medium, and low. So the ground power is almost established, and the self-test just completed. And then we should come down here, and we should see the co-pilot manipulate the screen in order to open the doors. And there we have it. The left now forward door is open. Again, that's important because we're using the auto flow. And if you recall, the before start flow will start when all the doors are closed. So I want to keep this door open to ensure that I complete all my pre-flight procedures before he automatically starts that flow. Okay, CVR test is now underway. And then he'll switch to seatbelt signs on. As you can see, the IRS still needs to be aligned. 7 minutes. We'll get a lights test now again. First flight of the day. If we would have selected turnaround flight, yes, none of this would be done because this is only required on that first flight of the day. Going through his flows. And you can see the pilot actions. The only thing that's required for you is IFR clearance. Again, you can edit that. We chose not to use realistic crew coordinations at the beginning of this flight. So that's why you're just demonstrating everything that the co-pilot can do. Here he's checking the batteries. Now, this is a real check. If these voltages don't meet the minimum thresholds, he will tell you, and he will ask you to check with maintenance. Not so important on the Phoenix, but we're finding out when we tested the AnyBuilds 350 that battery test was quite important. And I just realized I don't have the sound going for Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I wanted you guys to hear the background music or the background ambiance. So let's go ahead and turn on Microsoft Flight Simulator sound. And as you can see, he just completed the fire test, and now he's on to the cargo smoke test. Again, these would not be required if this was detected as the subsequent flight of the day, but we chose to say that this was a turnaround, not our turnaround flight. All right, I like that I'm flying in the US, so I have my altimeter set to inches. You can have them set to HPA if that's what you want, but here we have it set to inches. And for those veterans of FSFO, especially version 5, you'll notice there's no more values here like 1, 2, 3. What we tried to do is simplify this. So if it's on or inches or off or whatever it is, that's the value that what you set that you can expect to see here. Now, as you can see, we have the co-pilot programming the MCDU. He's doing the init age, and he's doing that request from SimBrief right now. just like all the other versions of FSFO, all the thing you have to do is set the runways in the SIDS and stars. You see that flight plan, that uplink is loading. We're just waiting for it to load in. And then he's going to go ahead and fill out the rest of the data. Remember, we said where flight number is Delta 101, so there he goes, Delta 101. And he put that cost index, I think we said it was 15. Yep, there it goes in. And then he'll put our flight level, cruise level is flight level 280. Now he does the wind request for you. And we'll get that pre-populated. There we go. He's just about done programming the MCDU.
Computer is all programmed except for the SIDS and stars.
So then we go. He's got the SIDS and stars. So now we will come over here, and we will get ready to program the SIDS and stars, which are the only things we have to do.
Heading out for the walk around.
And he's off to his walk around. So let's go to Bangor, departure, and we said 15 if you remember from our departure briefing. We're going to insert that. And then Boston, we said runway 4 right, but again, I remember I printed out my my flight plan, my OFP, so all I have to do is just take a look at my OFP to see the relevant information. You can see right here, our landing runway is indeed 4 right, so we will take 4 right. Again, that's on a second screen for me, so I don't have to keep going back to the, you can easily import it, as you guys all know, into your EFB here. I just like to use my second screens. So walk around is still underway. We're going to take 4 right, and we said for our star, let's take a look what we said for that. Whoop! I opened the wrong screen, but that's fine. Still got the same data. Ocean 5. Don't get a chance to fly much these days because in Kenny bump transition, because I have been working on V6 for, geez guys, at least a year. I'd be happy to get this over with. All right, so after we selected our SID, stars, and runway, we're going to clear our discontinuities. There we go. And again, these discontinuities after manual, you cannot clear them. Those are there by design. The programmers thought that the pilots needed kind of an awareness that after this will be a vector from ATC will give you a vector, which is why that cannot be cleared. So now our route is good to go. Although the co-pilot is still out there performing his walk around, we can hurry him along by just holding Control plus Alt.
Walk around completed.
All right. And now you notice that the boarding music, you hear that music in the background? That's the guitar music that we had previously talked about that I selected. So you can see it, you can tell it wherever you want it to play within the flow. I have it starting there. FSFO also has a pack simulation, so you can see those packs are loaded down, being loaded down here. Again, if we would have selected GSX, you would have seen your co-pilot request loading from GSX. So down here now, he's getting ready to do the init B. He just loaded the payload and the fuel for us. As you can see here, that was our plan of fuel, all put in and ready to go. And now he's doing the init B, and then he'll go into the performance. Again, you do not need to have that boarding music. Everything is customizable within FSFO V6. These values he's putting in are taken from SimBrief. If you want to use the values taken from the EFB, all you have to do is put them in on the performance page that we looked at, and your co-pilot will use those values and not the values downloaded from SimBrief. But I have yet to run into a problem using the SimBrief downloads. There we go, programming your approach page for you. Just put in the wind data. And he'll put in the transition altitude. And radio altimeter 200. And then there we go. Now he's coming up here. He's setting his MFD and PFD. He's making sure all the heading and altitude knobs are pushed. So you see dashes. As you can see, he set the altitude to that planned altitude that we discussed previously. MCDU page is going to doors. That's just to remind us to close the doors when we're ready. And we're getting ready for the departure briefing.
I'm ready to perform the briefing when you are, Captain.
Okay, you can do this a couple different ways. If you're in voice mode, you can just say, ready for the briefing, or you can just hold the control plus alt. Since we're not using voice right now, we'll use control plus alt.
This will be a standard departure brief. Any questions, feel free to interrupt. We are departing. Kilo, Bravo, Golf, right. On runway 15, we'll expect clearance to 28,000 feet. Weather at departure is clear. No significant changes since dispatch. The departure runway length is 11,500 feet. Using 6-7 thrust. V speeds are V1 136 RR 136 V2 137. Acceleration altitude is 1,500 feet. In the event of an issue before V1, I will call reject, and take control of the aircraft. If we have an engine failure after V1, we will continue the takeoff, positive rate gear up, and fly the standard departure profile. Any issues, I'll fly, and you run the checklists. I will handle the controls until at least 1,000 feet. After that, we can discuss auto flight or hand flying as needed. Standard callouts as per SOP. Any questions?
No questions, Captain. Sounds good. I'll monitor the V-speeds, call out deviations, be ready to assist when needed. Ready for departure. All set for the checklist, Captain.
Okay, so there we go. Departure briefing. I saw 2 bugs in there. I heard Kilo Bravo Golf right. That's clearly wrong, so we'll get that fixed out. And I thought I heard RR and not VR. So again, we still got some work to do before pushing this. I'll get those 2 fixed. All right, so now you notice that the co-pilot has asked us if we're ready for the checklist. This is different from version 5, where you had to click one button for the flow and another button for the checklist. The checklist now happened right after the flow, which mimics real-world operations. However, there is this command in here when you can just put on any flow you want, where the co-pilot will ask if you are ready for the checklist. I only have that in there for the pre-flight flow because everything else flow is fairly quick, and it didn't make much sense to separate the 2. But that's up to you. You fly how you want to fly. So if I'm ready for the checklist and I've got everything done with ATC, I've talked to the VATSIM controllers, and we're ready to go, I can say ready for the checklist, or just hold down that control plus alt again to bypass.
Cockpit preparation checklist. Cockpit preparation.
Completed.
Fuel. 1, set it. 2, set it. Pounds.
11727. Checked.
Seatbelt signs.
On.
Aider selectors.
Nav.
Altimeters. 301. Set it.
3017. Checked.
FMGS.
Set.
Cockpit preparation checklist completed.
Okay, there's the cockpit checklist completed. You heard the flight attendants, they closed the door, so we can no longer hear the boarding music. Oh, we got an incoming call.
Go ahead.
Can you let the captain know all passengers have boarded and we're ready to go back here?
Affirm.
Okay, that's just letting us know that the aircraft is all loaded. It doesn't matter if you're using FSFO's simulated passenger boarding or if you're using GSX, it will be the same. Again, we're in autoflow mode, so the checklist, or excuse me, the flow won't start until we close the door. A couple notes. You heard the co-pilot read back, excuse me, the pilot read back the fuel settings. Again, that's based on that setting that we talked about in the previous video where we said confirm read back. So you'll hear that every time your first officer states whatever that is, whatever value, fuel, altimeters, you'll hear a read back. If you don't want to hear the read back, just unselect that. Another thing you'll notice, we didn't use any voice commands. That's because voice is not enabled. We'll enable voice on the before start checklist just so you get a flavor. Every setting was set correctly. Why wouldn't it be? Because we had our first officer set everything for us. However, if it wasn't set correctly, you veterans know the co-pilot would just wait until you set that correctly. That's the difference between voice and button mode. If this is enabled and this is green, whether it's muted or not, you have to give a verbal command before the co-pilot will move to the next flow. All right, so those verbal commands, by the way, you can see any command by just going to the help screen, going to voice command, and then this is all your verbal commands. For checklist responses, you can use any one of these checklist responses. It does not matter. Again, I am flexible by choice, not strict and rigid. So there you go. So let's get back into our SOPs page, and I think we're ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my voice and then close the door. Actually, I'm gonna turn it off just so I can talk and it's not miscommunicated. All right, so again, FSFO will now run through the before start checklist. A couple things I want to bring your attention to. Sync V speeds. I think this is an error too. This needs to be done after the after start checklist. But just so you know what this is, what FSFO will attempt to do is read this V speeds that you put into MCDU and use those values during the takeoff roll.
Welcome to your flight. On its way to one of our
There's
many
the safety
destinations
message.
across the globe.
That is, again,
Make
you get to
possible by our
choose
dedicated
whatever
team
that
members.
safety message is. We talked about
We'll all
that
do it
during
for one reason.
the prior video. This safety message is long, so it's American Airlines. You'll have to excuse
That's why
me.
your safety is so important to us. So let's go over some in-flight instructions so that we can get
Waiting
you
for the
safely
APU
on
to
your
spool
way.
up.
To buckle your seatbelt, insert the metal end into the buckle and pull the strap to tighten. To open, lift the top of the buckle. And remember, seatbelts should be fastened whenever you're seated in case of unexpected turbulence. Now, make sure your seat is upright. All larger electronic devices are put away. Carry-ons are placed all the way under the seat in front of you, and
Notice
your
there
tray
are two
cable is
different
stowed.
ground
Larger
power
carry-on luggage goes in the overhead
commands now.
bin.
There's off
If
and,
you have
and
a handheld
disconnect,
device, please switch it to airplane mode now. If your electronic device
as
falls
well as
into your
chocks
seat,
removed.
please do
Just
not
good
adjust your
reminders
seat
to make
and
sure those
contact
are
crew
done
member
before
for
you
assistance.
request pushback.
Law prohibits smoking, including e-cigarettes, at any time. Tampering with, disabling, or destroying smoke detectors in
Again, the
lavatories
sync
may result in a
V-speeds, that
fine.
should be done
Law
after
requires
the
all to
engines
comply
are
with
started.
lighted
It kind of
and
locks those
closed signs
V-speeds
and crew
in,
member instructions.
so you'll
Now
get an
let's review the
accurate
safety
reading
card in
when
your
you
seat
when you
pocket,
attempt
which
to sync
explains
those
the safety
V-speeds.
features of this airplane, including the location
Can you ask
and
ground crew to
operation of
disconnect the
exits and
GPU?
flotation devices.
There we go.
This
The
aircraft
ground
is
crew
designed with escape hatch
disconnect the
lighting on or
GPU,
near
so
the
we will
floor.
come over
In the
here
unlikely event of an evacuation,
and
leave
we
all
will
carry-ons
come into
behind
ground
and follow the
services.
lights quickly and safely to
We'll
the
go ahead and
nearest
remove the
exit.
chocks
The
because we
sign
know
will
that's
indicate you
coming.
have reached your exit.
Move the forward
All
stairs
exits on this
and
airplane
remove the
are clearly
GPU.
marked. Take a moment to locate the nearest one. Keep in mind.
Can you ask the
that
ground
they
crew
may
to
be behind
remove the
you.
chocks?
All door exits have evacuation slides to use in
All right,
the
you shouldn't
unlikely event
have
of an
said
emergency.
anything, so
In
we'll
a
go
water
ahead and
evacuation,
fix that too.
The exit door slides in the front and back of the airplane may be detached and used for flotation. You'll find the exact location on your safety card. When directed to exit,
All right, he's
jump
just
onto the
about
slide
done.
and move away from the airplane. If the cabin loses pressure, oxygen masks will drop automatically. While remaining seated with your seatbelt fastened, pull down on the mask or the red streamer to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth and put the elastic band over your head. Then pull the straps to tighten and breathe normally.
Before start
Remember
checklist.
to always
Parking
put your own
brake.
mask on first before helping others.
On.
Know that oxygen is flowing even if the bag
Take off
doesn't.
speeds.
Life vests are
V1,
located
1,
under,
3,
next to, or
6.
between your
VR,
seats. For help
1, 3,
locating them,
6.
see your safety
V2,
card.
1,
Remove
3,
the vest,
7.
pull the tab or compartment handle to break the seal. If equipped with an
136,
elastic harness,
137,
remove the harness before
137,
opening the
checked.
pouch. Remove the vest from the package like this. Put the
Doors.
vest over your head, wrap
Closed.
the strap around your waist, attach the buckle, and pull.
Beacon
tight.
lights.
Once outside, pull the
On.
tab to inflate your vest or blow
Would you mind checking this again, Captain?
Okay, remember we talked about this. This is now a new feature. FSFO is going to check that to make sure that it is set correctly before moving just to the next item. That's based on that setting. If you want it to work like it did before, you can do that. So let's go ahead and turn it on, and you will go to the next item.
Before start checklist completed.
Okay, stand by now for the load sheet.
Cockpit from ground.
Go ahead.
Fuel and cargo have been uploaded. Weight and balance checked and confirmed within limits. Please advise when you're ready for pushback.
Roger. We'll advise when ready.
Okay, this is a real check. He's not just saying these things. They're actually looking at your payload, comparing it to your aircraft configuration file and your fuel to make sure you're not overloaded or anything. That if you were, you would get a warning. So there is our before start flow. We look like we are good to go. Sorry about the safety message and the boarding music as background, but I wanted you to get a full demonstration of everything FSFO is capable of doing. All right, for that, let's go ahead and talk about a couple more things. If you recall, there were several things that had to do with ground services like boarding, catering, and the jetway. Well, if you didn't want to put those in your flows, you could just remove them and then use these control buttons down here to select, so you can control when you want the jetway to toggle, control when you want the catering service, when you want to connect the GPU. You can use these buttons. Now, one important thing, if you are going to use those options, you want to make sure that your option, the GSX option that we talked about earlier. Remember we talked about GSX interface? If you want to use those buttons combined with GSX, then you want to make sure that that is enabled. I don't want to use GSX, so I am going to keep that as is. I'll just like to use, I like to use the Microsoft Flight Service items just because I don't have a lot of time to fly, and GSX takes a lot of time. All right, so here we go. We're ready now for engine starts. We're going to go ahead and use the FSFO's pushback feature. You can cycle through these controls by simply clicking this button right here. And there are 3 different layers of controls that you can use. The second one is the for ground control. So let's go ahead and start that now. Also, before get started, to let you know this can still be done via voice. All you have to do is activate the microphone and say ground from cockpit, and then do it just like it worked before.
Ground from cockpit.
Go ahead.
Ready for pushback.
Connecting tug.
All right, now we want to wait until the tug is connected. Usually takes about 40 seconds. And then we're going to use these controls down here to move the nose to the left, nose to the right, nose to straight, and we can also stop the pushback by clicking this once. If you want to abort the pushback, just click this stop button 2 times. And again, all you have to do is hover over them, and it will give you a description on what to do. And I'm going to go ahead and have the co-pilot start the engines once we get cleared to do so from ground. Just Just waiting for that tug to connect. You see the nose is moving, so they must be inserting the pin now.
Pin inserted, release brake.
All right, so we will release the brake.
Pushing back. Cleared to start engines.
All right, we're clear to start engine. Again, we could do this via, well, let's just do it. Start engines. Voice button, it's completely up to you. Whatever you prefer. There we go, we're getting ready now for our engine start.
Starting engine 2.
Nose right.
And turning right. Not quite as elegant as GSX and some of the other Pushback, but simple and effective. And one less program you have to have loaded onto your software or onto your simulator.
Nose straight. Set parking brake.
Okay.
Steering pin removed. I'll be on the left side with the pin.
Thank you. We'll look for you on the left side with the pin.
Okay, so now we're just waiting for the engine start sequence to finish up. This would be your time. You would be monitoring the ICAS along with your co-pilot to make sure that there are no anomalies with the engine start. And I just decided I don't like those ground voices, so I'm going to look at Azure services and see if I can find some others. I don't know. They just don't sound good to me. So we'll replace them before we push this out, see if we can get something a little more realistic. All right, we're just about ready for engine 1. Looks like it's fired and good. I think I just heard the packs come on, so that's good.
Starting engine 1.
All right, here comes engine 1 up now. Again, everything is configurable. It's up to you. If you want to start engine 1 before 2, you can do that. Entirely up to you. The whole thing with FSFO is to be simple but complicated. It's up to you however you want to use it, and we're going to be talking a lot more about some of the advanced features in future videos. This is just to get the basics down so you can have flights without worrying too much. All right, here's that second
Engine 1 started.
So here's engine 1. We're just waiting now for the engines to both stabilize. And again, because we are using autoflow, what should happen, I think we put a 5-second delay before engine starts, and the after start flow will happen. By the way, you can also make this see-through if you want, just like you could in version 5. I forgot to do that before this flight, but normally I like to have transparency so I can see through the screen. You can also make the font bigger. There was a slider on the settings. We're just waiting now. You see down here, starting engine.
All engines stabilized.
And then you go stabilize, and then what will happen is the after start flow.
Cockpit from ground.
Go ahead.
Both power plants are spooling steady with normal temps and pressures. You're confirmed good engine start. We'll see you next time.
Copy.
About the ground start, for one, I don't like that voice. We're going to swap it. It sounds like a professor, not somebody working a ramp, so we'll get that swapped out. But that is, again, a check. He is literally looking for the combustion flags, the N2, your fuel pressure, like certain variables to make sure that you do have a good engine start. If you don't, then you would hear an entirely different message. That's everyone working together to ensure that you don't try to take off without good engine start. Here we go. We have FSFO. Just went ahead and set your flaps for you. And you notice certain commands have sets. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but those are usually tied to something. Like for
After start checklist. Anti-ice.
Set.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Trim.
Set.
After start checklist completed.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and, as I was saying, if you anti-ice, if you have set, for example, he would turn that on, the anti-ice on, if the temperature was below 10 degrees Celsius and precipitation was detected, off otherwise. Flaps are going to be set to whatever you set on that FSFO performance page that we looked at earlier before this flight. There we go. He's running now through his taxi flow. And then we see the takeoff
Taxi checklist.
config is normal.
Flight control test.
This is the flight control test. Same as usual, guys. You got to move it to the left. Oh, I guess we're not going to do it anymore. My controller is not plugged in. So what you would do is move to the left, the right, back. You got it.
Checked.
Flaps.
Set.
Weather radar.
On.
Engine mode.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff no blue.
Okay, he's
Taxi checklist completed.
for everything but the ECAM memo. He's the cabin ready will come off, but he's looking at everything
From the
else.
flight deck, this is your first officer. On behalf of the entire crew, I wanted to take a moment just to welcome you aboard. For our departure, a couple of light bumps are possible on the way up, but we're not expecting anything significant. Rest assured, though, your entire crew will work hard to make this a comfortable flight for you. For now, just sit back and we'll be in the air shortly.
Okay, so there's so much more to talk about, but I think we'll end it here because I plan on doing, there will be a tutorial for every aircraft going more into depth, so we'll talk more about the Phoenix here a little later. But you can see, since we're in automated mode now, and runway 15, we're 5,621 feet from the runway, so that's what you need in order to trigger the lineup flow. You also get ACARS information displayed. This will change depending on where you are within the flight phase, but I think that gives a pretty good demonstration of the basic features of FSFO and allows you to get started. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and talk about the editor and how you can make your own SOPs and your own flows, and then we'll get into each individual aircraft and teach you how to use FSFO to its full extent. With that, thanks a lot for listening, and more importantly, just thank you for all your support. This is the 6th version update, and in the last 6 years, all have been free. But that's just kind of our mantra. But this is the one we're going to stay with for a while. It's on a modern WPF platform. I like the way it looks. I love the way it operates. So I thank you for your patience to get to this point. With that, we'll see you in the next video.